McCoy, and I'm the horticulture agent here in Harnett County. And today we are at Rabbit Ridge Nursery here with Fred Robinson, the owner, and Emily, who works with him. So today we just wanted to talk a little bit with Fred and Emily about what goes on here at the nursery and the many different types of fruits and produce that you'll be able to find here. So Fred, how did you end up out here in this wonderful part of Coates in Harnett County?
Well, long story short, we started as a house husband, and when the kids all left home, I had to have something to do. So I took some cuttings of euonymus, I think 12, and got actually 10 of the root, and I thought I could do this. So it evolved from that. We used to be a nursery that did everything. We did woody ornamentals, we did seasonals, we did hanging baskets, we did herbs, vegetables, everything. And after about 6 years, we found that you can't do that. You're going to specialize in something. So we cut back, and then we cut back again, and so now we're just doing fruits.
Awesome. So from nursery to fruit, so what are the changes that you've had to make to get to just fruit production?
A lot, a lot. There's a lot of fruits you can't grow. Don't grow well in North Carolina. There's some that grow better. And culturally, we're having to do a lot of different things. For instance, growing raspberries in the Piedmont of North Carolina is problematic because of the heat and humidity. And we get around that in the fall and winter of the year. We cut all our foliage down, so they vegetatively have to all regrow. And it pushes most of the fruit into the following fall and winter. And as a result, we can actually get fresh raspberries until the killing frost. We ate, I think it was Christmas Day last year, we actually ate fresh raspberries out here, which is kind of cool.
Wow.
And so the more we did, the more we learned, and the more we learned, the more we tried. So it's just been an experiment. And it's been fun for us. I can't speak for her, I hope it has, but it's been fun for us to bring people out when we sell somebody a blueberry plant. We can take them out here and say, okay, here's how you prune them, here's how you take care of them. Or when you prune a muscadine, here's how you prune a muscadine, and you prune it different than a bunch grape. So it helps to show people what they're getting into, how big the plants are going to be, and what they should look like. We think they should look like. And it's been a learning for that. Would you agree?
I agree. That's a lot of why we have all of this out here. It's you pick or pick your own. Customers come out, pick what they want. But a lot of this, like you said, it's just as much, if not more, for education as it is for the fruit.
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned just a few of the things you got out here. I heard raspberries and blueberries, but you've also got some pretty interesting berry hybrids out here. So could you talk about those a little bit?
Yeah, we do. We have a loganberry, for instance, which is a cross between a raspberry and a blackberry. And they're right here on this row, which you can't see, I guess. And then we have a tayberry, which is a cross between a blackberry and a raspberry. And that particular berry was done in Scotland on the River Tay, so they called it a tayberry. And the old timers used to say that you couldn't grow, or you shouldn't grow, the raspberries mixed in with the blackberries because they would cross-pollinate. They actually don't. We clearly grow these side by side, and any of that kind of hybridization that's done has to be done in a laboratory. It just doesn't happen naturally. But we're doing that. We have a lot of different cultivars of blueberries.
Yep.
We have just grapes. We have about 4 different kind of blackberries, I think, thornless blackberries, including one that's a primocane fruity.
Yep.
And most all our others are floricane fruity. And I don't know, help me out here. What else we got growing out
We've
here?
got the blackberries, like you said. I think about 4 different kinds of raspberries now. 2 fall fruiting, like you're saying. Most of them will fruit about midsummer on through the killing frost. I think 2 red ones, 1 gold raspberry. We just put in a row of black raspberries, which we've never tried before, so we are excited about those. And then we have the spring fruiting raspberries right behind us here. Then, like you said, different muscadine grapes, bunch grapes, which also don't do as well in the south, but we like to grow things people tell us we can't. And elderberries we just put in.
Nice. So you mentioned blackberries and raspberries, and we know raspberries are like notoriously difficult to grow around here. But what's the difference between a black raspberry and a blackberry for those who aren't familiar with them?
I can't tell you much taste-wise. Like I said, we just put them in, so hopefully, probably next year we'll start seeing some fruit. But they're just different berries. The blackberry and the raspberry, they're both in that same family, but they're 2 different animals. And each colored raspberry has a slightly different taste. So the red ones you buy in the grocery store don't taste quite the same as the gold ones, which we love around here. They're sweet as candy. And the blackberry, or the black raspberries, I mean, have another distinct flavor, which I've read. I can't vouch for it yet, like I said. I've read that's the inspiration for any blue raspberry flavored candies or desserts, things like that.
Well, cool. Now that I learned something right there. I didn't know that these candies are actually based on like a naturally occurring flavor. We tend to think
We
of
didn't
them
either.
as synthetic. So that's awesome.
And I think the fall gold raspberry is as high as 40% sugar, so it's just
Wow.
pure sugar. I mean, it's wonderful. And it's been fun learning about all this stuff and to see how the things how they grow. For instance, when you look at these raspberries here, the heat and humidity we talked about is tough on raspberries. These guys come in so early that the heat and humidity doesn't bother them, which is kind of
Wow.
cool. And then what's it called? Ohio Treasure?
Ohio's Treasure is the
Ohio Treasure.
cultivar of black raspberries.
Nice.
And we're hoping that's going to be a hit. We'll see, I guess.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we're standing out here in front of your your berries and your nursery, and I noticed you've got this really cool organizational pattern going on out here. Could you kind of walk us through what we're seeing back here?
Well, this used to be years and years ago. It used to be nothing but second and third year growth pines, and it was kind of a waste, I thought. So we cut them all down and let a lot of the stumps rot, and then we had to grow out some. But basically, when we did all that, we realized that this had actually been farmland because it was terraced.
Oh, wow.
We never noticed that when it was all. In fact, there's a big terrace line right there. And so, in order to keep that going, what we did is to lay it out. Specifically on this one, it's laid out such that the early fruits are down here, and then the next ones, and the next ones, and the next ones. And that's because if it all comes in at one time, it's hard to. You have to have something to do with it. We have a couple commercial customers that come in. A brewery comes in, and we have a barbecue sauce people that come in, and then the customers come and pick right much. But yeah, it's laid out to get you oriented. That's north, south is behind me, sun comes in the east, west is toward the camera, and it works out well. It's just been an interesting learning progress. We stayed with the contours of the land, and it's turned out okay, I think.
Cool. For those who aren't familiar with terracing in farmland, could you talk about that just a little bit more?
Well, I think that was the early attempts long years ago, and I still practice now, to sort of level the playing field, if you will, to keep the right drainage and the bad water from destroying the crops, taking the pure seeds that are just put in the ground and the rain come and just wash them away. And you don't see it much anymore, but occasionally you'll run into it. But that kind of dates the land. Incidentally, about quality of land here, this particular area was all at one time, years and years and years ago, the gravel pit for Harnett County. And if you get a chance to look at the ground before you leave, there's nothing but gravel. So if you drove on a gravel road in Harnett County years and years and years ago, it came from here. And it eventually played out. But it's kind of cool. So we always tell people that.
Awesome. And something else, when you first pull up, you'll notice that you've got some trellising going on, and then you have some things that aren't on a trellis. Could you talk about why you do trellising and what plant is appropriate for trellising and which one isn't?
Yeah. Basically, it was trial and error, which is, I guess, a large part of starting something like this. We decided to try to grow as much of our things upright, to keep them off the ground, to keep ants away from them. And as a commercial venture, people come in and they step on your fruits. And we also try to keep it fairly clean, space-wise, because we have a lot of older people that come, have some nursing home people that come, and you don't want them stepping on ant hills and all that, so we try to grow up. I think it also helps with the light. I think it helps with the fruit preparation. I mean, it kind of speaks for itself. I think sunlight's important on a lot of these fruits, and the more you can create that uprightness, the more sun can get into it. It also makes it easier for the birds to hide and eat, but that's a trade-off. We're growing enough for the birds, I think, and they were here before we were and be here after we're gone. So.
Awesome. So,
I was going to tell you I didn't mean to interrupt you, but one of the things we found out is that as we did this, there's some birds that eat insects and don't like the berries, but there's some birds that like berries and don't eat insects, and there's some birds like they eat anything. So what we started doing, and we've kind of gotten away from it, but the further you look back this way, you'll find that there are metal caps on the tops of the posts. The metal caps were put up there initially to keep the water out of the end grain of the post. And then we realized that the birds wouldn't sit on it because it got hot. So then we went from the silver to the black when I found some black flashing, because it gets even hotter. So, and that's helped a lot. But then we found out the bluebirds are very territorial. This is nothing to do with fruit production, but it's an interesting aside, I think. We found out that bluebirds are very territorial. They'll even fight another bluebird, and that mama and daddy bluebird can have up to 3 clutches of eggs a year with 5 eggs in each one. So 3 times 5 is 15, and mom and dad, that's 17 mouths have to be fed. And they're very territorial. They chase off all the other birds. So if you get a chance, you'll see there's probably 15 or 20 bluebird houses out here. Plus, they're kind of neat birds to look at anyway.
Very cool. Awesome. So you mentioned that you have a U-pick operation. Could you talk to us a little bit more about what that looks like at this nursery and what customers could expect when they come out here?
We, like I said, we grow several different things out here, so everything comes in at a different time. Right now we're picking loganberries. I'd say we're about halfway through their season. Tayberries, those are both the blackberry raspberry hybrids. They're just getting started. The spring Dorman raspberries will be starting soon, early blueberries. So we've got a lot. Everything comes in at different times, and we do that on purpose too. Even things like blackberries, we have several different cultivars that don't all fruit at the same time. That way they'll be available for a longer period overall. So we keep our website up to date. If you check right at the top of our homepage, it'll say now picking raspberries, now picking blueberries. So customers can check that. And we also advise they go ahead and call us in advance. Like he said, we do have commercial customers who often buy large quantities at once. And we have to keep everything picked regardless, otherwise it'll go bad and attract insects and other pests. So calling in advance means we can tell customers in real time what we have available. And then when they come, we furnish all the containers. You can't see them from here, but we have the pint containers for any of the small berries and the larger, I think 6-pint buskets for any of the firmer blueberries, muscadines, blackberries that can stand a little more weight. We furnish all the containers. All of the prices are priced per container, not by weight. And we not only allow but encourage customers to come out and eat just as much, if not more, than what they pick. And all they pay for is what makes it back to the office.
Oh, wow. That is a deal. That is a steal of a deal. Oh, my goodness. So cool. You know, we've talked a lot about the blackberries and raspberries and tayberries and all that good stuff, but could you talk about muscadine grapes a little bit more? North Carolina and the Southeast in general is known for the muscadine grape.
And as she's trying to encourage me to say that the oldest cultivated grapevine in North America is in North Carolina. It's on Roanoke Island. It's been there for 400 years. It was there when the Algonquin Indians greeted the soon-to-become lost colony of the notorious fame. And we actually got a chance to go down and see it. It's a bucket list item to go down and see something that's that old and that neat. But yes, the muscadines have been around for a long, long time. And one of the confusing things that we are trying to address education-wise is that in North Carolina, potentially the whole South, but I can't say for sure, but people will come in and say, I want a muscadine grape. And we'll say, okay. And, or they'll come and say, I want a scuppernong grape. And we'll say, okay. And then I want one of those black scuppernongs. And we'll say, well, you can't do that because scuppernong is a female bronze muscadine. And then we go through our little litany about all the different kind of muscadine grapes they are, and they're all called muscadine, but there's all these different ones. So that a scuppernong is a muscadine, but not every muscadine is a scuppernong. And their eyes get real big. In fact, true story, went to the IGA, and they had scuppernong grapes labeled as muscadines. So I said something to, probably couldn't say the IGA. Screwed that up, sorry. But anyway, I said something about it, and they actually changed the labels to say scuppernongs.
Oh,
so
wow.
I said, you're creating and furthering the confusion by selling this sort of stuff like that. But yes, we have those that come in at different times. I'm embarrassed for you to see them this year because we prune ours in February, and we don't like to prune if there's going to be a frost or a freeze within 24 to 36 hours. And one of the quickest ways to kill a grapevine is to prune it the wrong time of year, and it'll weep out. And so the grapevines at this end, we started at the lower end and came up. The grapevines up here we never got to. Emily never even got to finish all the blueberries, prune them.
Okay. Well, awesome. Thank you so much. We absolutely love getting the chance to visit your nursery today. And thank you for taking the time to spend with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.